So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the assistant to the city manager, Ms. Marcia Noel.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. That's really a tough act to follow. I think that's it. I think we should end it right there, but we won't, because the reason why each and every one of us are here is because of the community. And so to kind of bring this to a close, I think it's important that we consider the community's input into the fold of the conversation as we think through a lot of the information that was discussed. So without further ado, I'll get started with the presentation. So first of all, why did we do this survey? Well, one, Mr. Evans asked that we implement this survey similar to what he's done in other communities that he's served in. In addition, it is a general tool often other organizations will use to obtain valuable input from the customers, from recipients of services or what have you. And so this is a good way for us to get honest feedback from the community as it relates to our organization, our services, what are they looking for, so that we can make more informed decisions that's specifically targeted towards their interest. And so just as it's in the name, it's the community value survey, so we're looking to gauge their interest in items of value to the community when it comes to the services that we offer. All right, so before I begin, I'm going to start off with the background behind the survey, and then we're going to get into the questions that were asked of the community, and then afterwards, I'm going to share my observations in terms of strengths, opportunities, next steps, areas of improvement, and open it up for any questions. Now, Mr. Evans is pretty familiar with the survey results, also Ms. Leah Gaines, so feel free to interject at any point if there's any valuable insight you've been able to make from the survey as well. So first, the survey timeline. This survey was launched back in February of this year, and it closed in June. Initially, it was going to be a 3-month project, but due to the pandemic, we've had to extend it to allow ourselves to utilize some other methods to reach out to the community. We were able to send out weekly newsletters with information on the survey. We sent out promotion through our utility billing. We also made announcements, shared information on social media, and through that, we were able to obtain 652 responses, which for us is a great thing because this being our first survey, oftentimes people are not necessarily familiar with what it is. They might have hesitation. Is this really going to be useful? Is it worth my time? But my goal initially starting off with this project was to get at least 500, and we exceeded that. And so with that being said, the completion rate for the survey is about 88%. So 88% of those who started the survey actually completed it. And just to provide some context, this is approximately a 30-piece survey. And anyone who knows surveys, it's really hard to even get past the first 3 questions sometimes when you're volunteering to participate and share your feedback. And so to have a very large number of individuals actually complete the survey is something that we're proud of. The methods by which we were able to implement the survey was both electronic and paper. We understand that we have diversity in our community. Some people are technologically savvy and others are not. And so we had to make sure that we had different options for them to participate. The caveat to this survey is that it is an opinion-based, non-scientific research. Essentially, that just means that we did not use a scientific method to implement this survey. This is more so fairly basic. It's what you would probably experience if you were to go to a business or get emails from any service providers, just simply trying to get your input in terms of your satisfaction with the quality of the services that you are provided with. All right, first, we're going to get into some demographic questions. So the first question that was asked, what kind of resident are you? In this question, it was predominantly those who are permanent residents of Riviera Beach. They came out at about 88.4%. And then next would be seasonal Riviera Beach residents. And then lastly, those who are not residents of Riviera Beach. The second question, which district do you reside in? So just to provide some context with this question, I asked this for two reasons. The first being logistics. So I wanted live information in terms of how we were progressing with making sure that we were getting responses across the city. And so if there was one district in particular or two that may not have been progressing along with the responses, we could target our efforts to those communities because time was of the essence and, of course, resource restrictions. And then secondly, we also wanted to see how well the community understands how we're organized. So based off of this, you can see that a majority of individuals who responded are not familiar with how we're organized or what districts they reside in. You see that there is, I think, 22% did not know or were not sure about which district they resided in. And then, of course, you can see that the second to that would be District 4, mainly represented, and then you have District 2, then District 1, and then finally District 3. And then, of course, the very small percentage is non-applicable. And those could have obviously be those who are just doing business here, visitors, tourists, and what have you. So question number 3, do you own a business in the city of Riviera Beach? Predominantly no, but there is a percentage that do. Do you own property in the city of Riviera Beach? And being that these are mainly permanent residents, a majority said yes. And of course, you have a percentage, which is the least, that said no. All right, question number 5. How long have you lived in the city of Riviera Beach? Overwhelmingly, 10 years or more. So we're talking about respondents who have a vested interest in this community. They know the history of the community, and so when we go through some of the core questions, particularly those items of value, you're talking about responses from individuals who have history, who can compare and can look at the progress of this community and provide, I think, a meaningful feedback in terms of where they think we are as a city and perhaps where we're headed. And then second to that, you have, I think, it's 5 to 10 years, which still is a fairly large range of those who participated in this survey. So question number 6, what best describes your primary residence in the city of Riviera Beach? Predominantly single-family homes, and then second to that, condominiums, and then third, apartments. Other options that came in last were townhouses, other, and non-applicable. Question number 7, what is your sex? And this proves again that girls rule the world. Females came in predominantly at 65.59%, and then of course the rest were male. So I think we just probably have to do better in marketing to our males, perhaps. All right, number 8. To which age group do you belong? And as you can see, you're looking at more so your middle age to senior age ranges predominantly, and I think they're almost matched. So any number 51 and up represents a majority of the respondents. And then, of course, second to that, 36 to 50, which is fairly young, in my opinion, which is great, but we want to get more and more people engaged across the age spectrum. Number 9, what is your approximate pre-tax household income? Predominantly, we have 50 to $99,999. So you're looking at about mid-range income, and you'll see maybe why that's the case based on the second question that's going to come up. And then second to that, you have those between $30,000 and $49,999. All right, so this question asks, what is your highest level of education attained? Predominantly bachelor's degree, and so it kind of makes sense to see what we saw with the income. Obviously, there's a correlation between income level and education and what have you. And then the second to that is some high school, and then lastly, those with graduate degrees. All right, now we're going to get into the core elements of this survey, which is the community sentiments on items of value. So question 11, what type of residence do you think the city of Riviera Beach needs more of? Overwhelmingly, single family homes. And of course, this is coming from a pool of predominantly those who own this form of property. And then next to that, you have townhouses, and then you have none of the above, but some other areas to consider, of course, is condominiums, apartments, but as you can see, it's overwhelmingly single-family homes. Question number 12, why do you choose to live in Riviera Beach? And they could, in this question, check all that applied to them. And the top 3 is location. Second to that, raised in Riviera Beach, and third, affordable housing. And I think from this question, what we can pull from it is simply that these, I think, are marketable traits. Location, we are a coastal community, and to the point that was made earlier, we have advantages to our community that we can really build upon that other communities in this country do not have. And so when we talk about these capital projects, let's talk about what makes us marketable. And then second, raised in Riviera Beach, I think what's great about that point there is simply that you have a large number of individuals, again, who are deeply rooted here, that have a sense of belongingness to this community. There's a culture, there's a way of life here, I think, that makes us unique. And then lastly, affordable housing, which is great because you have individuals where we want to bring them to this community, but perhaps we need to consider some other factors, i.e. these capital projects that we discussed that can kind of begin rolling the stone on those other elements that can make our community attractive.
And Ms. Noel, if I may interject back on that slide, I think it's important anytime we are delivering the public message to hit on location, that this is a family community, that generations can live here, that it's affordable, those types of things. Utilizing that terminology that obviously resonated with folks on the survey is something as we look to roll out information and collateral, those are the items that we'll speak on. And certainly when you all are out in the community, those are some of the things that you know resonate and get high favorable ratings from those that are in the city and that participated in the survey.
Thank you. Question number 13. Is the city of Riviera Beach an affordable community? Largely agree. And then second to that, neither agree nor disagree, which is a neutral position. Now, my thing with neutral positions is that they do not say yay or nay. To me, I think it certainly means there's an area of improvement that's needed there. But obviously, we want to see that shift more to the agree and strongly agree at some point. And then last, of course, you have the smaller percentages that disagree with that statement, but largely agree, which is good. Question number 14, is the city of Riviera Beach a safe community? Largely neutral. And it's interesting because this is a question about public safety. And I think when you're talking about what is the backbone to maintaining a civil society, it should be, I think in the right circumstances, it should be an overwhelming, strongly agree. Because the safety of our community is key, and it's important for us to really make sure that we're able to provide all the various other services that we do by ensuring everyone else's safety. And so in this question, of course, you can see that there is an area of improvement. And as we go through these questions, remember, I mean, we've had discussions, we've had other workshops, you've heard from some of your constituents already. We know some of this stuff is obvious, but now seeing it analyzed in a survey, I think kind of brings it to a unique perspective.
And I just wanted to add in there, it could potentially also indicate that there is a lack of public facilities or where people can congregate and feel a safe quality of life type of situation. It could potentially indicate that, which could, you know, again, loop back into what we're doing here.
Right, and I was actually probably going to touch on that a little later, but it's not just, because safety can mean a few things. It could certainly be that they responded that way because, one, they legitimately have reasons because the data is supporting that, right, when it comes to crime stats or what have you, but also it could be a perception of safety. Some people just don't feel safer when they're in an environment that's not as aesthetically pleasing. If I see broken windows, dilapidated buildings, trash on the floor, I may not necessarily feel safe, but there may not necessarily be a lot of crime in that area. So question number 15, is the government of the city of Riviera Beach a transparent organization? Largely neutral, neither agree or disagree. And again, this is an opportunity for improvement. Now, with this question, to provide some context, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are not transparent. I think that being that I've been with the city for a couple of months, I think we're doing quite a phenomenal job, given the level of staffing that's available for our communications and things like that, that we do have opportunities we've provided to be transparent, aside from just our regular council meetings, but the many workshops that we've implemented, sharing a lot of information online on our website, on social media, and all that different stuff. And maybe there is an opportunity for us to be more creative in being more transparent. But it could also be that people are largely unsure or neutral because they're not trying to engage. One thing about public administration is simply that people just are not as interested in government activities. They think once they voted, that's it. We'll trust our elected officials to do the job. We go home, take care of ourselves. But there needs to be a way, I think, by which we make it more attractive and appealing for people to want to look us up, go on our websites, get engaged at our council meetings, right?
Also, it may indicate that they didn't really understand the question, because transparent has some double meaning. Sometimes it's, it's looked at, we're looking at it from this question in terms of being open,
Right.
Do you know what's going on? But there's also a connotation of the word that means, oh, I see through them, I know what they're doing. So it could be that many people are just confused by the term transparent. It has both negative and, so that could have been a reason for the neutrality on it as well.
Right.
Ms. Noah, I also think that transparency or the indifference is also kind of deep-rooted in past trauma that they've experienced based upon previous leadership that they've seen, based on what the media has portrayed, based upon what they've seen firsthand. So it may not be directly connected to the current government or leadership in place. You have residents that majority have been here over 10 years, so they've seen good, bad, and ugly. So essentially, it may not just be what's happening right now. It may just be that they've consistently felt a certain way based upon the projection of the media or based upon their experiences personally. But looking at the current council, it's been clearly nothing but transparent based upon my experience and my opinion. So I would honestly and I think the word also transparent also, it kind of delivers a certain connotation as well, as Ms. Gansden states. So.
Right, and I think you made a great point, actually, because I was thinking that when we implemented the survey, we knew people were drawing off of their history here, right? They have not yet, I think, seen. And given that, again, this is a new board, you have new management, new staff. So when we implement this survey next year, what will the response be? So that's something to consider, but that's a great point. Did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to basically reiterate what you said and said, I kind of see it as a call to action.
Yeah.
You guys need to take some action so people can know what you're doing and you can reverse that.
Change the narrative.
All right. So question number 16, does the city of Riviera Beach communicate well and engage with the public's input? Largely neutral. And then second to that, agree. And then after that, disagree. Again, neutrality in this area. And I think, again, it's an opportunity for us to do differently and kind of uproot some of the negative thinking or perspective that's probably been developed over the years. Or then also we can look at our current processes when it comes to how we engage, because for someone who's answering this question, it could simply be, I ask questions, I've made requests to the city for various things, and I haven't gotten a response. And I know that that's sometimes our issue. And so maybe that's it. Is the community experiencing a two-way street with us? If I ask for something, am I going to get something back in return if I'm trying to engage? So that's one thing to consider. Question number 17, how would you rate the overall appearance of Riviera Beach? And largely, the response was somewhat attractive. And then second to that, unattractive. And then, of course, neither attractive nor unattractive. And I don't think this comes to a surprise to us, but I think, again, it's quite evident that this is an area of interest, and that's why we asked this question, because the discussions we're having is greatly going to impact how they answer this question in the future. Number 18, please rank what the city of Riviera Beach should focus on and improve in over the next 3 to 5 years, from most to least important. The top 3 of this list is infrastructure, then redevelopment, and then community aesthetics. Now, I think it's quite interesting that community aesthetics came at the top 3 when you have other things that may be important, such as job creation, tourism, and all these other great things. But I think that all those items at the top 3 are correlated because we understand the significance of infrastructure, we understand the role it plays in our ability to redevelop, and that redevelop spurs community aesthetics, make things more pleasing for people. All right, number 19, which do you value the most? And so this was a hard question to put together because I think practically everything that we do is very valuable, so this is not to necessarily leave any particular department out or what have you, but we kind of just went with the generic, more so those items that we know often that communities in general would highly value, that's of significance. But the top 3 is quick police and fire response, second, building an attractive community, and then third, revitalization of businesses and shopping areas. And so we talked about earlier with regards to the needs for public safety, both fire and police, how is it that our decision making with regards to rebuilding or reconstructing their facilities, how will that impact their services? Because in this question, public safety comes at the highest level. And so by us looking at various ways in which we're supporting our public safety, we're able to satisfy the community in terms of what their expectations are for those areas. And then, of course, you have building an attractive community that came in second. And I think it's just this resonating thought of aesthetics and appearance. And then, of course, revitalization, redevelopment, things of that sort. Question number 20, how do you receive information about city affairs? This is simply just so that we understand how best to communicate with our community. Largely, they use various platforms. Predominantly, I saw here, second to that was social media, and then, of course, word of mouth. And we know people can talk, so I'm not surprised. All right, number 21, what type of volunteer opportunities with the city of Riviera Beach would you be interested in? What I like about this question is that we have over 500 people that responded to this question that would like to help us out for free. And when I say that, I'm not saying that as, we can get free labor, but it's more so a partnership opportunity. Volunteerism is a key element, I believe, in government that's not often talked about. And when you think about it, when we talk about public engagement and we're talking about, building better ties and improving perception of who we are and where we're headed, volunteer opportunities can play a key role because we're inviting them into the space that they own. they're taxpayers, right? And so we have to look at the ways in which we're offering these opportunities in that they should be valuable to the community, be valuable to the organization, so that we can work in partnership to bring about the change we want to see. Unfortunately, there are members in the community who want to help out and they just don't know how to. And we don't want them to just be bystanders and spectators, but they can be part of the solution. And so, obviously, before the pandemic, we had opportunities like special events that came up high. We had the advisory board, which was of interest as well. And then, lastly, youth programming. And just so you know, we do have the contact information from individuals who did fill out the survey. So, for those advisory boards, just let me know, and we can probably reach out to some folks. So. All right, question number 22. Did you know that only 38.1% of your entire property taxes bill comes to the city of Riviera Beach to fund your local government? And not surprisingly, no, I had no idea. And again, I think it's just a matter of public education and making sure that we're informing our community as to what our funding opportunities look like. Especially when we have discussions like this, because I think it provides a sense of understanding and support when we are offering new ways to look at how we open up other revenue sources for the city. Question number 23, did you know that the average property tax bill for a single family residence in Riviera Beach is $1,685 and only $643 is remitted back to the city of Riviera Beach? And largely, they did not have an idea. Question number 24, would you agree to pay higher user fees to support the recreations department? Largely no, which we're not surprised. And then, of course, no opinion comes after, and then last, yes. And I had an opportunity to kind of talk about this with Mr. Evans, and I think a great point was made was that maybe this is an opportunity whereby those who utilize that service can be the payers of that service as well. I think that this is probably a way for us to kind of reimagine how we look at making the recreation department more self-sustaining over time.
And Ms. Noel, if I may, this is one thing where I think it's important when we talk about looking at revenues and expenditures based on the survey participants, based on the information, those that benefit from the program are saying that should pay for the full freight of the cost. And so there shouldn't, as we look at recreation programs, do we make a determination as to if something is going to be subsidized or if it's not going to be subsidized, because based on the information, it says those that enjoy the program, if you choose to sign somebody up for a activity or program, that they should pay for the full freight.
All right, number 25, rank which service you value the most. And at the top 3 of this list is first police, and then coming at a tie is public works and fire rescue, and then the third rank is water and wastewater. I think all of the services obviously here are valuable, but of course public safety comes out at the top, and then of course infrastructure.
Madam Chair, if I may, I believe Councilperson Lanier was attempting to speak.
Oh, I didn't see her, sorry. I couldn't.
Oh, she was trying to speak.
I still couldn't hear her.
Talks about the issue of would you pay higher fees to support the recreation department? I just wanted to know were there any written responses or were there any ancillary type of responses written to this question? When this answer this question this time, I don't know if there's anything that you would say about that person.
No, Councilperson, they were just given those yes, no, or no opinion option on that, because traditionally when you leave it open-ended for folks to respond, they either write their doctoral dissertation or they write a bunch of inappropriate things. And so for the preservation of public record, we didn't want to allow for the ability to comment under questions.
Yeah, I took the survey myself, and there was, at the last end of the survey, there were boxes that you could write anything in those boxes in regards to any feedback. I was just wondering, was any of those boxes still that particular question?
Oh, okay, this is Marcia. So the open-ended questions you're referring to are at the very end of the survey. And those are more so optional questions because they were asking if we could use your contact information to reach back out with regards to a newsletter that we were going to try to develop in the future, also to enter your name in for the gift card. And then I forgot what the third option was, but it wasn't to the core of what the survey is. We're still selecting the final winners, and we'll be announcing them soon.
You cannot accept that, ma'am.
I'll quit. And we'll send you.
All right, is there anything else? Okay, I'll move on. All right, I'll move on to the next question, number 25. Rank which service, oh no, we did that already. Number 26, is the city of Riviera Beach business friendly? Predominantly, could improve. And essentially that's almost saying no. But that doesn't come to a surprise, and I think what we have to do as we go through these questions and kind of look at the results is that I think there's been some things that we've done to communicate that things of this matter is of importance to us. We've hired our own economic business development manager. We have our CRA, we have our new development services director, and I think that there's some things that that clearly communicates that this is important because we're willing to put the resources in place to ensure that we have a vision and that we have activities in place to spur economic growth and build a stronger business community. But to this question, again, there's areas for opportunity, and this is of value to the community as well. Number 27, where do you see the city of Riviera Beach in the next 5 years? Now, despite the neutrals we saw, and maybe some of the other sentiments, largely they feel that it's going to be better than now. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of great changes taking place. I think there's a sense of hope that's becoming more and more realized. And so this is the sort of energy you want to work around as you make decisions as policymakers, because I think you do have supporters out there that do want to see the change you want to bring about. Number 28, are you proud to say you enjoy working, living, and playing in the city of Riviera Beach? Now, to provide context for this question, we wanted to ask this question because as we move forward in the activities that we're setting out for ourselves to make these decisions that will essentially change the landscape of the city over time, we want to think about how we're going to brand ourselves or rebrand ourselves. And this question is based off of our motto, right? It's on our business cards, it's in our email signatures, best city to live, work, and play. But in reality, does that reflect who we are? Does it reflect our vision, how the community feels? And so the response we got was largely sometimes. Sometimes it's enjoyable to work, live, and play. And of course, you keep in mind all the various factors and questions we just went through. We're not surprised, but I think this is an opportunity for us to really think about rebranding ourselves. We don't have to keep what was known. We can create something new, something more reflective of our community. So now we're going to go into the observations, and I'll make this brief. They're fairly short. We're going to start with the strengths. So I think the obvious strengths of what we've seen through this survey is, one, there are marketable traits that we have as a city. Our location and affordable living in particular. Second, there's a sense of belongingness, there's history here. There's a family orientation that I think most people look to when they want to consider a community that they want to connect with and live in. And then lastly, there's a high sense of optimism for the future. I think if you look, if you do a quick research and Google us, you may not think that's the case, but apparently a large number of individuals responding to this survey certainly feel that there is hope for the future. Next observation is opportunities. I think there's an opportunity for us to strengthen our community-government relationship through community engagement opportunities. Again, over 500 people are interested in volunteering, and whatever that may look like moving forward in this pandemic, it's an opportunity. And then lastly, areas of improvement and next steps. First, of course, improving public safety. So we're talking about the potential of reconstructing our public safety facilities. If by doing so we're going to improve safety, then that's going to clearly communicate that this, in fact, is an area we want to satisfy our community with. And then in addition to that, to include the perception of safety. The next area, infrastructure, of course, so that includes our public works, our utilities, the framework that really makes for a functional society. And then next, perception of transparency. Next, the engagement with public input. And then after that, community education on local government, making sure that we provide opportunities similar to what we do through the Citizens is it the Citizens Academy or the Citizens?
Leadership Academy.
Leadership Academy?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to go virtual because we're going to keep putting this off.
Yeah, no,
we're
it
2
should-
years behind now.
I know, yeah,
So we got to do
but
it with a
it's,
different format so we can get it back going.
I think we should do virtually too, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It was the best thing ever,
Right.
ever, to get to really understand what was going on in the city.
and I
I
heard
think
all of it.
Yeah.
just was so good.
Right, and so things like that, those sorts of efforts, I think, offer an opportunity for us to really hone in on some things and educate our community about who we are, and they're interested. It's just is the opportunity there. We just maybe have to restructure it somehow so that it accommodates folks and
you
it works.
I think it would
We
be
may
easy.
have more people participate.
I was just gonna say that.
With it being virtually.
And we did have 140 people that said that they were interested in it in the survey.
Right.
So, but we can have bigger classes too.
Yeah,
And it would be
Right.
easy to do virtually. It's not like you didn't
Well, we
have any.
learn now that we can
Yeah.
do a whole lot virtually that we weren't probably thinking about before, so.
Yeah, and it's probably cheaper too.
All right, so we're gonna.
You're gonna have to feed them.
I know, right? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the biggest,
It was.
that was the biggest thing.
All right, and then moving on to the next item, community aesthetics, and I would also add here an attraction, so those other factors that would, really catch everyone else's eye in surrounding areas to come to this city. Next, business friendliness, our economic and business development initiatives, keeping those things in mind, and then rebranding and potentially changing our motto and looking to how we even redo our website. I've been working with IT and they're looking to implement a new user-friendly website that'll make it a lot more pleasing and a lot more easier for our community or even those outside of our community to really know who we are through our online presence. And then lastly, I highly encourage that we implement the community values survey annually so that we can measure our progress through perception. Because again, it's key. The reason why we do what we do is because of those we serve. And so with that being said, that concludes my presentations. And if there's any questions or insight, anything that was in particular interesting or surprising to you, feel free to share.
Thank you. I think Ms. Lanier has a question.
Councilperson Lanier has a question.
Thank you.
Your 692 responses, how many of them were papers?
Oh, so we provided over 100 paper surveys specifically it was for seniors.
Okay, and how were those paper surveys, provided to those cities? Did they come up, provide
Right. Well,
this is a very, very good, sample size of our population. And we really like, basic, social research that, specifically sample size of 35,000 are in the cities, and that's a very good, I'm just trying to figure out how, and today, at least I'm
right, good point. And you know what? This is a time for me to do a quick shout out to Miss Grimsley. She's awesome. But during our senior food distribution, what she did was she printed out over 100 copies, and at one time she had a large number of seniors being fed, and so because it was like clockwork in terms of when they're there and when they leave, she would give them the surveys, and then the next day she would have, I guess, the bus driver or whoever picks them up and takes them back to where they need to go to collect the surveys for her, and then she'd pick it up from that individual. So we used one of our feeding programs to do this. Thank you.
I believe Councilman Lawson had something to say.
No, I was just going to commend Ms. Noel on this survey. An excellent job, great presentation. I think just trying to navigate through COVID and still getting this response rate was awesome. I'd be in support of just doing this annually so we can kind of project where we are and what our residents' feedback is. So we can get it up to a larger percentage in the future, comparable to like voting numbers. I think we can get to that number. But then, of course, not having to deal with hopefully COVID at that time. So next year, I think that this is something we definitely support moving forward. So excellent job. Thank you, Ms. Noel.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And also what we will be doing is we will be doing a video presentation of the survey. But if you'd like for Ms. Noel to attend any of your town hall meetings to present the survey, we certainly will do that, or any civic groups that you think may be interested in the survey, because we want to get those we want to get into those points, entry points, so when we do the survey in subsequent years, they can see that, hey, we're utilizing this data, and we wanted to provide this to the board prior to us going into the budget, because you can see infrastructure, community aesthetics, those are the things that resonated with folks. So we will do a video, we will put it on our website as well, and then if anyone would like for us to come to present at a meeting, we certainly will be willing to accommodate that.
And just to add real quickly, we'll have the survey results available online on the website so that members of the community can also view it.